Our reporter Nqobile Madlala is live for us in Honeydew with more on that situation. Nqobile, this is planned maintenance. It is necessary, but of course it doesn't take away the inconvenience that many residents will feel. What are people doing to ensure that they cushion themselves against the full impact of not having water?
Definitely, Kathy. In fact, the one household that we are currently at, we know that they've already filled up a tub to make sure that there is some form of water that is in the house for just now. But we do know that they are going to be buying water tomorrow because there's just no space really to put all that water that is needed for as long as there's going to be that planned maintenance. So now I'm going to bring in my guest to speak to us about that. And I mean, Lauren, you were just telling us about the plans that you have already done. But I can imagine that you, because you have children, you have a lot of need for water.
So absolutely. We've got a number of children. We've got 5 children in our home. So for us, water is a necessity. We've got tiny babies ranging up to teenagers. So hygiene for us is a non-negotiable, whether it's from a bath or changing a child with a dirty nappy, washing bottles. If you have a look in our kitchen over here, for instance, I wash over 60 bottles a day. So for me not to have water is virtually impossible because how on earth do I wash those and sterilize those with no water? Never mind, we've got a 9-month-old baby who's still on formula. So we're mixing her formula with water daily. Something as simple as cooking becomes virtually impossible. One of our children is a special needs child and is disabled, and his food needs to be boiled every day, freshly produced, so that there's no chance of bacterial infection. And, I mean, cooking becomes impossible because how do you do that without water? So it's really the basic needs around living that we're going to struggle with. And having children, as you can imagine, it just makes it that little bit more challenging because yes, I can fend for myself with no water, but how do you do that for little people and explain to them that they can't have a bath or, you know, there's been a dirty nappy accident and how do you then clean up after that? So for me as a mum, it's really, really challenging.
And you talk about the bottles at the moment, and I can see there's a lot of them filled up already, but of course I'd imagine that this means that after every use then you've got to wash. Absolutely.
So typically in the day, these would be washed twice during the day. They would be washed. We then have to sterilize bottles and then obviously refill them with bottled water that we've boiled. But with no water being available in the taps, that becomes difficult. And
I mean, basic things like washing, then what are you going to do? I mean, 58 hours.
So washing is a challenge. I think as any mom would know, we really do need to wash regularly with children. So the last time the area had a challenge, we had a washing pile that was taller than this fridge because we couldn't wash nappies, we literally couldn't wash anything. So something as simple as linen and warm blankets in the cold, something in the cold, we can't wash blankets, we can't wash linen, so if there's an accident in a bed or a cot during the night, none of that stuff can be washed. So you then ending up needing excess stuff, and realistically, who has the finance to go and buy linen? Because everything's been used up and you can't wash anything. And then something as simple as just filling bottles through a tap, washing dishes, anything like that, filling the basics, a kettle. You can try. Oh, okay, pressure's already down. And you can see this is obviously going to go down further during the night. You can see the sink's already starting to fill up from the evening's dishes. And these sorts of things we're not going to be able to do as readily. Okay, well, don't use too much water because then the whole of sundown is not going to really love you. Okay, right, switch that off. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to get this though. I mean, you were saying that because you only have like a tub that you're going to use to store water. So what is the plan and how much water are you buying?
So I think realistically speaking, I've got small children. We've got 2 baths in the house. Realistically, for me, it would be a huge danger to be able to fill a bath. I then have the risk of a child drowning in a filled bath, and that would be virtually, life-threatening for us. So we filled 1 bath where the children won't have access to. How much water are we going to need to buy? Probably quite a lot. Do we have the finances to be able to add that? No. Realistically, the water tankers that they're busy putting in the areas and we've been promised, we know from history that this doesn't always happen. Or that they're not readily available when we're available. If people are at work and the tankers are there while people are at work, it becomes impossible for us to go and get that water. So it really is going to make it a huge challenge. The next few days are concerning. And I think as a mum, I'm particularly stressed about it. Because what do we do? And also, I think we're all used to service delivery promises of it'll be back on such and such a date, and it's not. And the area, unfortunately, is known for that.
It's known for that. What has happened in the past?
So previously, we've had a water outage. There were problems with the reservoirs where I don't understand the electronics behind it and the business behind it. But we didn't have water for a few days, and we kept getting promises of it will be on, and it never did come back on. Similarly with electricity, we've had days and days without electricity, and as much as people are asking for help and that sort of thing, hands are tied, and service delivery is really becoming a real concern. Power for 4 or 5 days is not acceptable. Local residents have been complaining about electricity that's been out since 3 o'clock yesterday morning. And now we're going to have no water, no electricity, it's cold, and people are going to start struggling in the area.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. That is Lauren. Of course, she is a mother, and for her, this is going to be quite difficult. I think you saw how many bottles she has to deal with at this point, and you've got little ones as well that needs to be taken care of. She says that it's going to be a stressful time, but they'll do what they can at this moment.
Nqobile, Mum's definitely going to have her hands full trying to navigate the next couple of days.